else. We have to figure out, what do we do to support and help that person? How do we do it? Do we just go and vote? Do we understand what's happening in our communities, in the world? Because it can be daunting when you think about it. When you watch the news, you just go, what in the world do I do? So sometimes you just have to sort of think about it and say, okay, when I wake up in the morning, and I've been given the ability to wake up in the morning, and I've heard a service like this, what does it mean? What am I supposed to do? How can I make a difference? Well, here's a couple of things that I just want to share. When we have people who run for president and governor, we're all there because we think we have a sense of what they do, right? They run the country. But when we have people who are running for state offices and board of supervisors offices, what I would say to you is, the further down the ballot it is, the closer it is to your front door, which means that when we put people in office who we know understand us, care about what we do, how we live, what services we have available, those are the people who make that happen. So then you have to ask yourself, if that is important, what do I do? And because it's so important, why do people work so hard to make it difficult to do? In 2019, before that election, Virginia was 40 in terms of how easy it was for people to vote. That means we made it really, really hard. Sometimes we forget that Virginia was the home of the Confederate, which means that there's a whole bunch of things that's not happening in our favor. One of the other things that we don't know is that the eastern shore of Virginia has one of the highest populations of black people as any other rural community in Virginia. And then you might ask yourself, why is it then that we struggle so much to get people in office who look like us? Why is that? Now, the question that I ask is, has anybody ever seen the movie Django Unchained? Anybody seen it? Okay. Well, if you just sort of think about that movie and Samuel L. Jackson's role in that movie, we got a whole bunch of that. And it's up to us to figure out how we're going to change that. What are we going to do? What is it? So do we go home today and we just do what we ordinarily do? Or do we go home today and do something different? How many of you know 25 people? You can just say, 25 people, I know 25 people. I know 10 people. Right, okay? The question is, when you go home today, what will you say to those people who you know? Politics and elections is not something that we talk about. It used to happen in the church all the time. Think about the 60s, the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement happened right in the church. That's where people gathered. That's where they got informed. That's where they got educated. That's where they came together. That's where they protested. That's where they learned to use the most powerful tool that we have. And today, we have to work so hard to get people to use that tool. But you all here today have the ability to use that tool and to help other people use that tool. When we go home on Facebook, I'm prolific on Facebook. When I post something about my trip to Argentina, I just get all kinds of responses. But if I post something about an election or something that's happening, it's like crickets. Why is that? Why is that? And the point is, we don't want to talk about what we're uncomfortable talking about or what we think we don't know enough to talk about. But if we just take a little bit of time, we can learn a bunch of stuff. Today, I'm going to go and knock doors. Now, you guys are wondering, what is that going to look like? What am I going to say to people? I don't know everything. There's a whole bunch of stuff I don't know and I don't know the answers to. But why I'm there is because I believe in the people who are running. I believe that they understand what my interests are. They understand that I need Social Security for my mama. They understand that people need a safety net. They understand that people need to make more than $10 an hour. They need to understand that when people are working, that they should be looked after. They need to understand that our children should be taught all history. They need to understand that books shouldn't be banned. They need to understand that these are important things. Our children should be lifted from poverty. This is one of the areas where highest poverty. How can that be? And it's because we don't raise our voices when we need to. We don't talk about the things that need to be talked about. And what is more important is when people are running for office, we don't help them. So how do you help them? So think about this. It's not just what you do, it's what you say. It's who you talk to. When you go home today, will you make sure that people in your family who don't ordinarily vote, that they get to the polls? Will you make sure that they understand that they can't just vote this year? You got to do something else. You got to do something more. The other night, we had a goal. There's 108,000 women across Virginia right now who haven't voted. 108,000. We have the crazy governor that we have right now because more than 65,000 people who look like you and me did not go out and vote. We have 100 seats up in the State House Senate right now. In the House of Delegates, 40 in the State House Senate. They're all up. If the Republicans should win, what in the world will happen in Confederate Virginia? We all know what happened in Tennessee. We all know what happened in Florida. We all know what happened in Georgia. Do we want that for Virginia? We have board of supervisors races right now. My question is, how many of you are willing to knock some doors? If you can't knock doors, how many of you are willing to get on the telephone and call? How many are you willing to write a postcard? How many of you willing to drive somebody to the polls? My question is, for someone where so much was given and that they have an opportunity, as all of you do, to do so much more, how do you feel when you realize that you could have done one thing that would have made a difference and you didn't do it? You could have had one phone conversation. You could have knocked on one door. You could have talked to one neighbor. You could have done one thing. One thing. You could have learned how to make a phone call on a phone bank. You could have learned how to write a postcard. You could learn what it's like to knock a door. You can learn what it's like to do what I do, which is hand out pamphlets at the Walmart and the Food Lion. You don't have to do anything but hand them out. I just hand them to black people. Because the whole point is, when the white folks see me, they just run anyway. But I know that it is our people who need the information, so I am happy to deliver it. It's really, really easy. So just think about that. I just go to Food Lion, I just go to Walmart, I go to Rose's, and people come out, I say, there's an election coming up. You can vote early or you can vote on November 7th, but you need to vote and you need to tell somebody. How many of you can do that? We can do that. There's a Food Lion in Cape Charles, there's a Food Lion in Exmoor, and there's a Food Lion in Only. There's Walmart, there's Rose's. What are we doing? What are we doing to help this man where so much is given and he's been called on to do something else? So what is the one thing that you can do that can make that happen? What can you do? So I wanted to just say a couple of things that I think are important. Because when I wake up in the morning, I do wake up scared. I know that God is looking out for us, but he also expects us to do our part. Yes. Just because he's looking out for you don't mean he thinks you lost your common sense. Who knows what white supremacy is? There's a Republican Party right now who embraces white supremacy. Republicans themselves, who are former Republicans and current ones, will tell you that. They will tell you that the party's been taken over by white Christian nationalists. Republicans are telling you that. Former Republicans are telling you that. If you are a Republican running on any level and you have not denounced that, you are disqualified to me. And they should be disqualified to you. When you stay home and you don't get other people out to vote for people who believe in the things that we believe in that keep us safe, then you are voting for them. And that is complicity. So we must do something. Insurrection. I love this one because I read it, because I think it's just that important. Because I don't know about you all, but something really strange happened in 2020. An insurrection, not my definition, but ChatGPT's. I like him. An insurrection is a violent and often organized uprising or rebellion against government, authority, or established order, typically with the aim of overthrowing or undermining the existing regime or system of governance. Insurrections involve actions of rebellion, resistance, attempt to seize control through force or unlawful means. They can pose a serious threat to the stability and security of a nation. Republicans are saying that it was just people coming to see the Capitol. Now, we all know what we saw. I saw it on TV. But they're not backing away from it. So why would we support anyone at any level who thinks that that's okay? So we got work to do. We have real work to do. I just want to say that in 2019, when Democrats were in charge at every level, voting rights, climate change, worker protection, equal rights amendment, education, gun protection, criminal justice, and our civil rights were all things on the ballot. Not just at the state level, but at the local level. In Antioch, when we had COVID funds, they built a dog park. A dog park. I have a dog, but what I'd like to see is some roads where people don't have roads. Right here in Triansville, we have a railroad track and we don't have hard roads. I can go in any neighborhood and see, well, not my neighborhood, and see nice sidewalks, water draining. That's what our Board of Supervisors are supposed to do. In Exmoor, they wanted to do a roundabout so that people could stop having accidents. The person who's on our board thought we didn't need that. So that's what happens. This is why these roles are so important, and this is why somebody called on somebody to do something different. So I'm just saying what Coretta Scott King said. Struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it in every generation. So the question is, we are here right now. We have something to do right now. So what are you going to do today? Pastor Washington has all my information. On Monday night, we'll be calling women again. But today, I'm going canvassing and knocking on some doors. And there's a whole bunch more that we can all do. If you can't walk, you can write. If you can't walk, you can phone. If you can walk, you can knock doors. There's something for everyone. What will you do today to help make sure that our rights are protected, our freedoms are protected, and that we have the things that we know we need? And we need people who look like us and think like us and care about everybody. I'll just say this to you. There was a sign up the road, and it said, I'm sorry, Pastor, if this is wrong. Vote for Bloxham. He's one of us. What does that mean? Because I'm thinking he's not talking to you. So we have a candidate who's running for the House of Delegates. I don't care how many signs she has. The point is, you know that she's on the ballot. So if you guys talk to 25 people that you know, if you knock doors, if you write postcards, if you phone somebody that you know, if you drive somebody to the polls, maybe you'll feel better. And maybe someone who has a higher calling will get to go call.